why we have a technology at the forefront of how we want to operate and decision making. It comes from differentiation. We offer the same service and sell pretty much the same products as our competitors do. The question becomes, how can we provide a better service to our customers that makes us stand out from the pack?
Welcome to the Fleet Panda Show.
Thank you.
I don't know what we're calling this. But yeah, it's been great to work with you. You guys were one of our early customers, really embraced us open-armed, and were very open-armed about how to bring change in the organization and how to grow faster using technology. So very excited to talk. You know, you have a very interesting story about yourself and where you started. So maybe you want to tell us about your story.
Yeah, thanks, Pavan. My story is actually definitely a unique one. So I actually didn't start in the oil and gas industry. I was in another career field doing something completely different. 2018 came around, I wanted to make a change. And so I changed from my previous profession into the oil and gas industry. And I began my journey there as a dispatcher working for a technology company that just dispatched trucks across the United States. During that time I was working there, a company by the name of Spec Oil found my resume, and I just immediately felt a chemistry when talking with them. And so it felt right to make the move at that point and join the Spec Oil team. And I'm glad I did, because ever since I've joined the Spec Oil team, it's been nothing but growth, a lot of fun, a lot of stresses, but good stresses, as I've worked with like-minded entrepreneurial partners that want to grow and be successful in the oil and gas industry. When I joined the Spec Oil team, I was a scheduler and a dispatcher, just like how every other person out there probably begins their journey in oil and gas. And it just so happens that when I first started with Spec Oil, they were completing the purchase of various distribution companies, and they had asked me to come down as a consultant to oversee the integration and just find ways that we can make things more efficient. One thing led to another. I got to know the team down there, and before I knew it, I was promoted to a director of operations role less than a year after I started with Spec Oil. And then less than a year after that, I got promoted to vice president of operations.
That's a pretty awesome story. Turns out that you didn't grow up thinking you'll be a last mile logistic dispatcher, right?
No, not at all. Life has a funny way of working itself out, though, and I'm glad everything's worked out the way it did.
It's awesome. It's such an inspirational story, and it's not just for you, but like kudos to 3L and Spec Oil to identify the talent from dispatcher to the VP of operations. Now you're leading mergers of 3 companies,
right,
and the entire operations, and installing a lot of your thinking about operations and processes into the company. So that's a great move on their side. So what's like 3L's story and what's Spec Oil's story, whatever you can share?
What I can share about Spec Oil, obviously Spec Oil has been around since 2010. They're primarily a above-the-rack commodity trading firm operating in the upstream sector of the oil and gas industry. The reason they're called Spec Oil is they trade fuels, but they also made a lot of their money in renewable energy, biodiesel, ethanol, renewable diesel, R99, also used oil is another big niche for Spec Oil. They've been around for a good while. They wanted to branch out, and that's what I love about the traders and owners at Spec Oil. They wanted to branch out and continue to find ways to grow their segment of the business. And so that's why they began exploring acquiring a fuel distributor to get into the last mile to capture some of that higher margin that's available in the trucking aspect of oil and gas industry. 3L's story, I'm glad you asked that, is very unique, just like mine. They are a family-owned operation. They've been around since the 1970s. Previous owner, Andy Leach, owned the company. It has been passed down from generation to generation. And Andy felt it was the right time to sell the company when Spec Oil approached him back in 2019 to buy it. Very small operation, it didn't have any more than maybe 5 to 10 trucks. And it was a big change when we purchased the company because obviously we wanted to grow the operations tenfold. And so it was a big adjustment. But 3L, the same value and the same name and what customers think of it has not changed with the change in ownership. Still family owned, customer driven. We put people first. We will go the extra mile to make sure your needs are met, and we will always be there for you in your times of need. Those things were the key points of value for Andy when he owned the company, and it continues to be so under the new ownership group of Spec Oil and under my direction as well.
Keeping this family-owned DNA while growing the company, while doing mergers and acquisition, it's not an easy task, right? So How did you manage to keep that? What's your management philosophy going forward? How you're encouraging your workforce to still be this tight-knit, family-owned kind of operation, but still be able to build a large organization that's competing? It's a very competing market out there.
Well,
So how are you guys bringing out that change?
the same management philosophies and values that Andy had in his mind when he owned the company still is in my head and on the new ownership as well. The people come first, and that includes the employees. You have to make sure you find the right people, you take care of them, you grow them, you give them opportunities to give feedback. Whenever we're implementing a new policy or procedure, or we want to embark on a new project, we always ask our employees at the lower level of the management pool their thoughts.
That's awesome.
We believe in a servant matrix style leadership model to where everyone's voice is heard. We want everyone from the drivers that are in the trucks to the billing staff to the people working in the warehouse to give us input and feedback on how we can make the operations and the company better overall. And so I think for me, if I ever lose faith in the people that I oversee, then I know I'm not doing my job correctly, because as much of an influence as I have on the company in my position, it's the people that are in the front lines that have the biggest impact on the company, because that's who the customers see first.
That's great philosophy, and I totally agree, right? At the end of the day, people build companies and people take care of your customers. So really empowering them and making sure that they're heard is absolutely the best way to create an organization. We were talking backstage about how you're getting more data driven using technology to make decisions. Walk us about that philosophy. What do you see happening? What are some challenges around data? And how are you really leveraging platforms like Fleet Panda and some of the other technologies you have to make the organization more data driven?
Right. Data excites me first and foremost. That's probably the reason why I have it implemented in my day-to-day decision making. I actually studied data analytics in graduate school when I was getting my master's degree. And so I wanted to use that type of thinking in the way that I operate my business, and particularly in the fuel distribution sector of oil and gas. You look at some of the other companies across the industry, very family owned, they use very legacy programs. They go more off intuition rather than data. And that works just as effectively as data does. But I feel data is an underutilized tool in the downstream sector of the oil and gas industry. And if leveraged correctly, can help companies grow tenfold. We were able to use data to make better decisions on which routes and which areas we want to go after to grow the market share on. We use data to analyze which drivers are most efficient. You're looking at data and numbers that probably other distributors don't really look at when analyzing drivers. We look at data in pricing efficiencies in Best Buy.
Yep.
So we try to implement that in every way, shape, or form. And especially for me, as we continue to grow the company tenfold into making sure we make the best decisions possible. And data is going to help you get there. The more information you have at your fingertips, the better decisions you'll be able to make.
That's great. One another piece that comes to my mind is often one thing technology enables is not only sort of help you operate in a seamless manner, be data driven, but it also democratizes access to the information where, say, drivers would get what they need, or they can go ahead and update it, or dispatchers, or the billing team. How do you think about that?
I go by the age-old adage, let the managers do their job, let the people do their jobs. And if you leave them alone, and if you hire the right people, you will have a robust operations, and your business will go off without a hitch. And I think allowing talented people like the employees we have at 3L do what they do best, give them the freedom to look at data and empower them to make decisions that otherwise they might be afraid to make. People don't grow as leaders and employees if they're not given an opportunity to take a chance and execute on decisions. For me, I love developing employees into the next leader. And I hope one day, at some point in my career, I'll find the next employee down there that can maybe replace me when I decide to move on in a different direction. But empowering employees, like I touched on earlier, was a good way to boost morale and to really get buy-in from your employees that will translate to happy customers at the end of the day. Because happy employees translate to happy customers, and it's a win in all angles. We look at it that way.
That's a great point. One thing that I felt is very unique about 3L is every time we're out there like launching a new module, creating a new piece of innovation, we almost often don't have to sell or convince you guys. It almost feels like you want to grab every piece of innovation that will come in the market. Like, where does that come from? I often hear from our customers, and sometimes I'll have someone come by and say, Pawan, I used to be 11 years old and I went to my dad's shop and now we're running the entire business. And the person's now 35, 40 years old. And we still do everything the same. Nothing has changed. That's not what I see at 3O. Like 3O's different in that regard. So how do you guys think about all this stuff? And like, how are you thinking about your entire technology stack?
I think the answer to that is two parts. So for one, as far as why we have a technology at the forefront of how we want to operate in decision making, it comes from differentiation. We offer the same service and sell pretty much the same products as our competitors do. You know, we sell fuel, they sell oil. The question becomes, how can we provide a better service to our customers that makes us stand out from the pack? And I think offering technologically based solutions to our customers that our competitors, quite frankly, don't offer is a good way for us to stand out in the marketplace. That's why technology and data is at the forefront of everything we do. That's why you always hear me call you when I hear about the latest technology being developed in the market. I'll call you, Pawan, I heard about this. Is this coming? And you always give me assurances that it's in the works, it's coming down the pipeline. And so I think if we're able to utilize technology to not only make our lives a lot better, but also improve our customers' lives, it's going to be invaluable to everyone that's a stakeholder in our company. The other part of that question as well is, you asked why data and technology isn't at the forefront of a lot of these legacy companies around the marketplace right now. I think for me, it's just a lack of education. I don't think we have enough thought leaders like you out and the Fleet Panda team that are out in the market in front of the customers, educating them on why this technology, why this fuel management software, for instance, can make your operations more efficient, why a unified dispatching software can bring value to you at the bottom line. They might not be able to see the savings at the surface level, but if you dig deep and you do your research, there's immense savings in utilizing technology to drive efficiencies. I really believe technology is an underutilized tool in our sector that people like you are doing a good job of bringing awareness of. And now we have a great dispatching software out in the market that can help take not only our company, but other companies across the United States to the next level.
That's awesome. And it's a good full circle to this interview. Someone identified Alex and let them grow from a dispatcher to the VP of operation and lead the organization. And now you're bringing that back and you have it in the back of your mind that, hey, where is the next Alex in my organization? And how do we give them the power and opportunity to grow, spread their wings? And that just means that the company grows that much faster and you're able to take more initiatives. So yeah, thanks so much for chatting.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.